The first Hellblade was exceptionally well received, with its amazing use of audio to simulate what it feels like to live with psychosis and deal with auditory hallucinations. It was a thrilling horror experience that didn't use jump scares and terrifying monsters to induce fear in players. Rather than external, physical terrors, Ninja Theory chose to shed light on the internal, psychological horrors that haunt humans, and they told the story through the eyes of a woman named Senua. Now, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is out, continuing Senua's story. Does it do justice to the first game? Well, let's find out. The game starts us off with a quick summary of the first game. This is great for people who either haven't played the first game or need a refresher. After all, Senua's sacrifice is already 7 years old. The story starts with Senua tied up on a boat. She purposely had herself caught by the Northmen, slavers, who ravaged her village in the past. She wanted to stop the slavers for good, and had herself captured in hopes of being led to their leader, so that she could stop him herself. However, things don't exactly go as planned as the boats go through a storm, sinking the vessels. Senua finds herself bloodied and washed ashore. Nevertheless, she is determined to push forward, find the leader of the slavers, and put an end to the suffering they cause. The foreign land that she finds herself in, however, also has deep-rooted suffering of its own. Can Senua, with her unique vision, see through the veil and uncover the truth of the land? The story does a wonderful job of following up on the first Hellblade by introducing story elements and themes that build upon what was established in the first game. In the first Hellblade, we saw Senua struggle with the voices in her head, but now we see a mature Senua who is doing a better job of managing the voices. She can now discern when she should heed the voice's advice or follow her own judgment. In the first game, Senua traveled through hell to confront her demons and try to save her lover, Dillian. It was a strange, grotesque, fantastical landscape where we never knew what was real and what was a product of Senua's psychosis. Whereas in the sequel, we traverse a less fantastical, more down-to-earth setting. That's not to say there isn't more abstract, what the heck is going on type scenery in the game, but we'll get to that later. Since we're not in hell, we also get to interact with real, living humans. And for the first time in the series, we see Senua talking with said flesh and blood people. This allows the game to flesh Senua out more, allows us to see her interactions with other characters, given her unique condition and how she was treated by people in the past. We're really amazed at how well her voices conveyed the long-lasting effects of being treated like a cursed child. She's very hesitant to trust, and the worst is always in the back of her mind. They'll never understand, they'll betray you, they'll leave you. While the game is full of new experiences for Senua, there are also callbacks to the first game. The darkness inside her that her father instilled in her still follows her around, and is characterized by a deep, ominous voice.
You should not have come here, child.
It appears at the start of the game, and it symbolizes all the trauma that her father and her past ingrained in her and manifests as doubt, insecurity, and self-loathing. The game also retains the Norse mythology theme that it had in the first game. Makes sense now that we're smack dab in the middle of Nordic territory. Instead of the creatures of hell, we now have draugrs and giants to deal with. Senua's narrative is definitely one of its strong suits. The narrative is well paced and left us hooked and glued to our seats. The dialogue is well written and natural, from Senua's companions to the unseen voices judging our every move and decision. Hellblade 2 delivers a cinematic experience that tells a gripping tale of determination, hope, and redemption, despite its overall very dark and grim tone. While the narrative is a high point for Hellblade 2, we describe the gameplay as just enough to get the job done. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, as the simplicity of the gameplay is just what a game like Hellblade needs. It gives you enough action to keep you right at the edge of your seat, while also keeping the story going at a reasonable pace. The game's combat is nothing but a literal slugfest of blows and parries, intended to take the enemy down, and not much else. No fancy moves, no ultimate attacks, just a flurry of slashes and the sole victor. However, like the first game, you do gain access to a power that allows you to slow down Senua's perception of the world in an in-the-zone kind of way. This allows Senua to unleash a flurry of attacks that guarantee a hit. Fights are also pretty sparse, with no more than a couple in each major arc. To preserve the game's cinematic feel, there are none of the usual UI elements that you'd find in a typical action game. No HP bars, stamina bars, equipment menu, nothing. The only indication you have of whether you're about to game over is the accumulation of noise and red on the screen. In between story progression and fights are simple puzzles that involve finding out how to get from point A to point B given certain obstacles. These puzzles won't take up much of your time like a Resident Evil puzzle would. It minimizes possible frustration and keeps the focus on the story and its pacing. Graphics are another great asset for Hellblade 2. The first Hellblade was already an amazing feast for the eyes, and its successor just ups the ante. The hyper-realistic graphics really brings Senua's story to life. Battles are visceral, with blood and wounds appearing on your character and enemies as the battle continues. Unlike the first game, we're treated to a more colorful backdrop of open skies, sprawling mountain ranges, and wide-open plains. But occasionally, we're also taken into more strange and fantastical sights found in Senua's visions. The environmental textures, the lighting of the scenes, the beautiful natural landscapes, and the character models all work together to bring us stunning visuals and an immersive experience. However, all that graphical fidelity comes at a price. If you're playing on PC, you might have a hard time running the game. While the minimum specs are fairly reasonable, in order to get close to experiencing the full glory of the graphics, you need a PC with at least current-gen or last-gen components. But that's just the price for graphical fidelity of this caliber. While the graphics itself is stunning, the art direction is also praiseworthy. The way they artistically portrayed Senua's psychosis and inner world is both captivating and accurate. That's to be expected as they had a team of consultants comprised of neuroscientists and psychiatrists, as well as patients who have similar experiences to what the devs have envisioned for Senua.
Psychosis is a descriptive term, and it refers to having a loss of contact with objective reality.
Perceiving the world as if it's crackling glass and seeing facial distortions and shadow people is apparently fairly common for people like Senua. And of course, we can't talk about the accurate portrayal of psychosis without the voices.
You are a warrior. Black warrior.
This game is best played with headphones, as the game suggests at the start. It gives you a front row seat to how Senua, and how someone like Senua, may experience these voices in their head. It's a cacophony of voices all talking to you, sometimes one by one, other times all at the same time. Wearing headphones let you fully experience how well they've used sound staging to their advantage, having the voices come from left, right, behind, or everywhere all at once.
She can see herself. All the other selves. Us. We.
The voices range from encouraging to berating, and helpful to obstructive. During the more tense parts of the game, the constant barrage of voices honestly made me feel more anxious than I would have been if the voices weren't present. When the voices start talking to you all at once, even as a player, you really feel that stimulus overload, and the fact that Senua is able to manage it at this point in the series is a testament to her growth as a character. The voices aren't the only thing that's amazing about the audio. The music also shines. The Nordic throat singing and the beating percussions that you hear in some fights truly elevate the primal nature of the brawls. It also puts the icing on top of all the Norse themes found throughout the game. There's even a part of the game where the music syncs with the gameplay, and it was just amazing. The voice acting does a fantastic job of conveying the emotions that need to be conveyed throughout the story. All of Senua's screams, grunts, and shouts feel genuine, as if the voice actor actually was there, feeling what she felt, experiencing what she was experiencing. Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, is quite the experience. The engaging narrative, simple gameplay, stunning visuals, and enthralling audio all combine to create this visceral tale of a woman fighting off evil and suffering, all the while dealing with the evil and suffering within herself. While some may not be a fan of the minimalistic gameplay with a bigger focus on telling the story, I'd still want to recommend that people look past that and give Hellblade 2 or even the whole series a try, if nothing else because it really is a unique experience. At $50 USD, some might be hesitant to try out a game that'll only last roughly 6 to 8 hours, but those 6 to 8 hours are densely packed and it's truly worth it. Going back to our initial question of whether the sequel does justice to the first Hellblade, our answer is a resounding yes. That's why we're giving Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, a solid 9. But enough about our thoughts, here's where you come in and tell us your thoughts on the game. Are you thinking of getting it? Have you already played it? If so, what did you think of the game? Feel free to tell us in the comment section. Like if you liked, subscribe for more video game reviews and other video game related content. This has been Game8, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.